longest-running off-road and action motorsports radio show on the planet is coming to you live with the biggest guest in motorsports. Here is the only man on the planet who can pack this much dirt slinging and tire slaying into 2 hours a week. Sit back, strap in, and be prepared to get your ears blown. Here is Jim Beaver and the Down and Dirty Radio Show, powered by Polaris Razor.
Welcome to the Down and Dirty Radio Show, powered by Polaris Razor. Jim Beaver here again, locked and loaded in the house for another 2 hours of action motorsports radio. And, I'm just getting back amongst the living. I was out at the kickoff to the month of May, the Indianapolis Grand Prix there at Indianapolis Motor Speedway on the Yard of Bricks. I guess in the Brickyard, right? Yard of Bricks, Brickyard. Anyways, I don't know. That's a way to butcher your intro right there. But, yes, I was out at the iconic, the legendary Indianapolis Motor Speedway, catching up with some of my favorite IndyCar drivers, which means – yes, you guessed it. We've got a lot of IndyCar coverage today, actually, and next week as well, probably the week after that. You know, it's the month of May. You got to talk about IndyCar, especially if you're a big Indy fan like me. So, yes, we do have that. We got a lot to talk about, though. Power ranking shenanigans. We got Tiffany Stone in the house. She's going to be taking us through, her wacky adventures, talking about some of the off-road headlines, some of the big news coming out of the world of off-road. So, looking at the guest lineup today, obviously, like I said, we got Tiffany Stone, we got Power Rankings with Chris Leone, all that coming up in hour number 2. But hour number 1, we got a trio that is 1, 2, and 3 big interviews. Some of the biggest names in IndyCar. We have the rookie phenom, Colton Herta. He's going to be on the show today. I recorded that out at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. We're going to talk about his big win there at Circuit of the Americas and all that's going to be happening, in 2019 and his first run at the Indy 500. We've also got the legend, Sebastien Bourdais. Obviously he's a 4-time IndyCar champion back in the Champ Car days. Went and did Formula One for a couple of seasons, and he is always wicked fast at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Stoked to have Sebastien Bourdais back on the show. It's been a couple of years since we've had him. And then one of my favorite guests, never disappoints. We have Mr. Hinchtown himself, James Hinchcliffe. He'll be on the show today as well, talking whatever Hinch wants to talk about. So, trio, big guests, all that and more coming at you today on the Down and Dirty Radio Show, powered by Polaris Razor. Extreme performance, reliability, and the most fun you can have on 4 wheels? The Polaris Razor brings it to you. But you don't need to take my word for it. You can take theirs.
I'm Tanner Faust, and I choose the Polaris Razor because it's the most fun you can have with a steering wheel.
What's up? I'm Ronnie Renner, and I choose Polaris Razor because it's the sickest, most reliable side-by-side on the planet.
What's up, everybody? Heavy D from Diesel Brothers. Listen, I'm on Team Razor because it's hands down the best piece of machinery on the planet.
I'm RJ Anderson, and I choose Polaris Razor because it's the most fun, most capable machine.
Action sports stars, TV personalities, and some of the best race car drivers in the world all choose Polaris Razor because it's the ultimate combination of power, suspension, agility, and fun. Find out more information on the web at PolarisRazor.com or follow at Polaris Razor on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, and use the hashtag RazorLife to share your story. Whether you're looking for a tire that balances high performance responsiveness and traction in wet and light snow conditions, excellent handling and traction in wet and dry conditions, or a summer performance tire designed with the driving enthusiast in mind, General Tire has you covered. From the all-new G-Max RS to the Grabber ATX, no matter what you drive, General Tire will get you where you're going. Learn more at GeneralTire.com. General Tire, cruising with the Down and Dirty Radio Show since 2012.
4WP is more than a store. We're truck and Jeep experts and have been for over 50 years. From wheel and tire upgrades to full custom builds, 4WP has you covered. Whether you want to order the best parts online or shop in store, do the work yourself, or get it done by a pro, all roads lead to 4WP. Do your rig right. Shop online or find your store at 4WP.com.
Hey, this is Jim Beaver, host of the Down and Dirty Radio Show. Getting down and dirty on the racetrack is all fun and games until it's time to get the dirt off. I know it all too well, which is why I partnered with MotoShield Pro, the leaders in nanotechnology solutions on the racetrack and in off-road to combat mud and dirt buildup on my vehicles. MotoShield Pro keeps us from taking unnecessary damage and spending extra energy on cleaning. No matter the weather or the surface, having proper protection on all my vehicles saves me plenty of reprep time in a sport where every second counts. Prep your vehicle like a pro. Learn more at motoshieldpro.com. When looking for a new wheel for your off-road vehicle, car, truck, or UTV, the choice is easy. You choose what the pros use. Rob McCachran, Keegan Kincaid, and myself, Jim Beaver, all exclusively use Vision Wheel, whether we're dominating Baja, taking the cup at Crandon, or shredding UTVs. Vision Wheel's trend-setting designs and durability will set you apart from the competition and your friends. Check out visionwheel.com or at Vision Wheel on social media to learn more.
Like what you hear? Catch all the back episodes of the Down and Dirty Radio Show on Apple Podcast, and be sure to rate, review, and subscribe.
Oh, man, that was a hell of a ride. Go check out mymedic.com for the best first aid kits on the planet and save 15% with discount code Jim Beaver. Again, mymedic.com, discount code Jim Beaver, and save 15%. It's cheaper than a fuel.
MyMedic.com, yes, don't die. MyMedic.com, some of the best first aid kits on the market. Doesn't matter what you do. They're going to have you locked in, whether you're a off-road racer like me or, I don't know, just soccer mom, hunter, outdoorsman, fisherman, surfer, wakeboarder, motocross racer. I don't know, whatever you got, they got you dialed in. Check them out. Use coupon code JimBeaver, 15% off. And so this past weekend I was out at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, and what an awesome event. You know, I get a lot of people go, why do you go to the Indy GP? Why don't you go to the Indy 500? Well, I've been to Indy 500 qualifying and such, and the big thing is it's so big. Like anything run at Indianapolis Motor Speedway, we know it's a big deal, right? Indy GP not quite as big as say the 500. We're not even close to the 500, but some of the other events there. But the big thing is that a lot of media don't go, they don't cover it. So if you're like me and you're looking to get FaceTime with the drivers and the top drivers in the sport, you go on the GP weekend because there's more time availability. There's less media. It's a little bit more relaxed. Not that any IndyCar weekend is relaxed, but it definitely is in comparison to the 500. So, that's why we're able to knock out a bunch of interviews, get some great content and such. So, you guys are going to see that today. But I just love Indianapolis Motor Speedway, and I got to give a big shout out to my good friend Robbie Fast, who is a spotter for Ganassi Racing. Actually, Scott Dixon's spotter. He invited me up on top of the pagoda, and the pagoda, it's one of those places you just don't get to go. Doesn't matter what credentials you have, you just don't get to go. But the truth is I was with Robbie Fast, who is a spotter, right, in IndyCar, and he's been for a long time and he's well respected. So he helped get me up on top of the pagoda. You got to know somebody to get up there. He invited me up there. He wanted me to kind of get a feel for things, check it all out, and I got to say, you get up there, and it's absolutely insane, the view. You guys can see some of the pictures. You can see the entire track there, and especially for the GP, you can see it's the best place to watch it. It's funny, too, because you're up there, you don't realize you're protected, right, at the when you're at a race, right? But there's snipers up there on top of the pagoda. Yes, snipers. It's one of those things, they don't advertise it, but you're up there and there's snipers and you start thinking, you're like, oh, wow, and it's like hidden in plain sight too. They're up there, but you can actually see them if you're really, really looking, but you got to really be looking. And I guess they'd never really looked before, but you start thinking about it, and like a shot across, if there was somebody bad there, right? It's like what is it? Indianapolis Motor Speedway, it's a couple miles around. So, if you're going to take a shot from like the pagoda all the way to like turn number 3 or something like that, man, that's probably a mile-long shot. you damn well better have a sniper if you're going to make that shot, right? So I don't know. It was just an amazing view up there, but it put into perspective a lot of things. I bet you, whether you're at a football game or whatever you're at there, I bet you there's snipers more often than not. We don't think about it, but if you are a sniper and you're listening to the show, thank you for what you do. It's kind of nice to know that we're protected. But the rad part was I was up there, and Indy's this weird place where legends it's like you get the zombie horde chasing people down. It's crazy. Like, people will wait 5 hours to get a glimpse of a driver. It's nuts what happens at the at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. And you've got a legend like Rick Mears, right? Guy has won Indy 500 countless times, one of the most accomplished IndyCar drivers ever. And he's now, a spotter for Penske, right? And everyone's like, why would he spot? Well, I get why he would spot, because, you get to hide out up on top of the building with the best view in the place, and you don't have to wade through all the crazy rabid fans, But the best part, one of my best parts of the weekend, I had a lot of great times, and a lot of fun stuff happened. Had to hit up St. Elmo's. Yes, if you haven't been there, you definitely should. It's the place to eat in Indianapolis. But anyways, I got to talk with Rick Mears, and Rick, he's Baja champion. He's an off-road guy, right? So I got a chance to talk with him for like 5-10 minutes. Like, nobody around, on top of the pagoda, nobody bothering him, and just talking about off-road and Baja. And he wanted to talk about his Chenoweth buggies, and and it was funny because he was telling me, he's like, I've been reading on this new Fox suspension, this electronically controlled suspension, and and he's like, these trophy trucks now, and, he knows I race a trophy truck, but he's like, the trucks you guys race now, he's like, they've got this new technology coming in that I know about. But he's like, it drops the truck down. So like, if you're on a high speed section, or or the graded roads, or you're on a dry lake bed in Mexico, he's like, you can drop the truck like 11 inches. And, and he's like, and that way it's more aerodynamic. And he's like, it handles better at speed, and you can go faster. And, he's telling me all this. And then he goes, you realize, he's like, when I had my old Class 1 Chenoweth, he's like, we didn't even have 11 inches to start with. He's like, you guys are able to lose 11 inches and still have a good truck. He's like, how does that work? He's like, we never had 11 inches to begin with. He's like, if I would have had 11 inches, he's like, life would have been so much better. And it was just funny, hearing this IndyCar legend. All he wanted to do is talk about off-road. But truth is, it was he made some valid points. But Rick Mears just oh man, fun guy to talk to. He loves off-road. It's funny, you've got a guy like that, and he still to this day keeps tabs on everything that's happening in the off-road industry, which I think is something really, really rad, And but you look at Jimmy Johnson, and he's follows a bunch of off-road accounts, right? I would say probably Rick Mears, Jimmy Johnson, and Robbie Gordon, probably the three most iconic guys to come out of off-road into regular motorsport, or I guess traditional motorsport. And we all know Robbie sticks around, but Jimmy Johnson, he's still, he follows, off-road accounts, Kyle Duke, some people, and it's just it's interesting the way that works, man. You if you've ever been an off-road driver, you can't leave it. You've always got to come back. You're always thinking about it, wanting to go back. There's always something drawing you back to the sport of off-road. It's kind of interesting the way that works. But Indy GP, fun time. We'll talk about it more. The rest of the show. Obviously, we got Hinch, Herta, Sebastien Bourdais, some amazing, talented drivers on the show this week, and looking forward to those interviews. We got a lot of segments, lots of talk today. If you guys are just tuning in, or just finally making your way to the show, or just flipping the dial in national syndication, if you got questions for me, I don't know. I know IndyCar, we got first practices right now at Indianapolis Motor Speedway going on. I'm watching Twitter as we speak, so if you got questions, hit me up at JimBeaver15. But I guess Helio Castroneves, session number 1, already dropped a 228 in practice. Like, wow, where does that come from? Everybody starts out low 220s, works their way up. Helio, 228, like, boom, I am here. I'm going for the pole this weekend. Bring it. Like, I don't know. If there's not a statement run in session number 1 at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, then to drop a 228, I don't know what is. Statement by Helio Castroneves. So, crazy. Just mind-blowing, actually, how fast that is and how he was able to do that so ridiculously quick. Like, you know, that's something you might see later in the week. People start approaching that, but like he's trimmed out, ready to roll. And they haven't even fine-tuned that car, man. Like, is he gonna pull 230? Like, wow, a 228 this early. So, yeah, I know you're probably listening to this and you're probably watching IndyCar practice at IMS as we speak. But yeah, we are live and we're rolling here, and obviously James Hinchcliffe up next on the show. We're going to take a short break, but you got anything? And I promise we're going to talk some off-road, later on in the show. We're going to get to that and a whole lot more right here today on the Down and Dirty Radio Show, powered by Polaris RZR. So make sure and stay tuned, man. It's going to be a fun show. We're going to mix it up, shake it up, and throw a lot at you guys this week right here on the show. So, yeah, we're going to take a short break. We come back, we'll have James Hinchcliffe popping on the line right here in your favorite Action Motorsports radio show. Are you looking for a place to push yourself behind the wheel and see how your driving skills stack up? Dirtfish Rally School is that place. Located on 315 acres of pristine automotive playground at the foot of the Cascade Mountains in Snoqualmie, Washington, right outside of Seattle, Dirtfish Rally School is a one-of-a-kind place where everyone from first-time drivers to seasoned professionals like Bucky Lassick and Antoine Lestage can push themselves to their limit. Whether driving the high-performance, rally-prepped all-wheel drive Subaru Impreza STI is what you're looking for, or you'd rather hang it all out in the rear-wheel drive Subaru BRZ, Dirtfish Rally School has something for everyone. Classes are available from 2 hours to 3 full days and feature instructors with over 150 years of combined racing experience. Whether you're looking to become the best and get an edge on the competition, or just looking to freshen your skills behind the wheel, Dirtfish Rally School is the place to go. For more information on registering for classes, visit Dirtfish on the web at dirtfish.com, or to check out the latest happenings from Dirtfish, follow them on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Dirtfish Rally.
Thanks for tuning in to the Down and Dirty Radio Show, available live online in syndication on networks across the U.S. and available internationally on the American Forces Network.
All right, we're back here on the Down and Dirty Radio Show, powered by Polaris RZR. On this Tuesday edition, yeah, I guess I could slide some plugs in for our shows the rest of the week. I know we've got big off-road show coming up tomorrow. Looks like, I haven't recorded it yet, but potentially Justin Lofton going to be on the off-road show for a sit-down interview. And then Project Action this week, one that never disappoints, always a ton of fun, Street Bike Tommy. Yeah, my boy Tommy, he is going to be on the show this week on Project Action, catching up with him as well. So should be a couple of fun shows later on in the week. And, man, we haven't even talked about it yet, but Game of Thrones. Wow. If you're a fan of the show, you've by now already seen the episode. So I would say if we're airing this live on a Tuesday and you consider yourself a Game of Thrones fan and you haven't seen it, like, this is not a spoiler, because like if you were a fan, you already watched that. Like, seriously. But man, can we talk about this for a minute? Who saw that coming? Like, I think we all saw things gonna get weird, but wow, like I never ever saw that coming. So yeah, it's, I don't know, man. Daenerys full-on Mad Queen on us and just burnt the place to the ground. You want to talk about bringing the house down, set the place on fire? Wasn't there, yeah, we won't even say that song. The roof is on fire. Yeah, Bloodhound Gang, right? Look that one up. Not one we can play on the air. Yeah, FCC would not like that. But anyways, yeah, Game of Thrones. Woo. I would love to have your guys' predictions on what the heck's going to happen on Game of Thrones. At JimBeaver15 on social media. Hit me up. I would love to hear from you guys on what your predictions are. What's going to happen in this last episode on Sunday? I'm anxious to see the ratings, right? Are we talking like, it's not going to be Super Bowl ratings, but you think these are going to be like NFL-style ratings or, on TV? Like, how many people? 20 million, 30 million? how many people are going to tune in to watch a Game of Thrones finale? Probably one of the biggest TV moments in history is coming at us this Sunday. Like, you wonder what the heck the viewership's going to be. Love to see that number afterwards, live streams and everything else. Like, it's going to be insane. Anyways, moving on, we're going to talk some more motorsports, and with that, here's an interview that I did. My good friend, one of my favorite drivers in the paddock, always a fun guy to talk to, always got a smile on his face, 90% of the time anyways, but just a great personality, James Hinchcliffe with Schmidt-Peterson Motorsports, one of my favorite guy I've got to know pretty well, and he's also got an amazing podcast. You guys ought to check it out. But here's Hinchtown this past weekend at the GP. All right, so we're catching up here with James Hinchcliffe, and I got to tell you, man, we're already starting out. You're in some kind of good mood today, buddy. It's race day.
I know. For a guy that's hacking up a lung all day and all night and starting 20th, I'm not quite sure why I'm in such a good mood. But, hey, we're at a racetrack. Let's go racing.
We're not just at a racetrack. We're at Indy, man.
We're at the racetrack.
So that being said, man, we got a lot to talk about. GP, Indy 500, all that coming up. I mean, last time I caught up with you was sometime mid-season last year. I mean, lots changed since then. I mean, I know the whole team was really excited about 2019. Kind of take us through the season so far. I know, it's kind of been up and down, probably some of the results you guys didn't want. But, I mean, how are you guys looking at 2019? Because I know momentum you guys had in 2018 was insane and, looking to carry it into this year. And, you guys are still one of the premier teams. It's just, take us through the season, thus far.
Yeah, I mean, I think if we summed it up in a word, it would be solid. It's not been exceptional in any stretch, but we haven't had a lot of things go our way. We've had actually quite a few things work against us, but we kind of just keep ticking off these solid results. And, last year you talk about the momentum we had coming into May. We were 5th in points. Coming into May this year without that sort of hype behind us, we're 6th in points. So it's still been a pretty solid start, even with the problems at Coda, getting hit by Felix there, and, it's just not having yellows fall away, whatever it's been. So we still need that little bit of pace, that little bit of something special to kind of get up there and fight with the big guys day in and day out. But the team's executing pretty well across the board, and we just need to keep our heads down on race days and try and keep doing well.
So, that being said, obviously we're here at the GP. You talked about qualifying not potentially, going the way you wanted. It's weird, especially with the GP, because you look at times, and I mean, it's such narrow margins here, man. I mean, it's it's 1/10 of a second can drop you 7-8 spots. It's crazy, man.
Yeah, it's incredibly competitive, but it's kind of been like that everywhere. It's just such a competitive year in the IndyCar series right now, and in qualifying, we had decent pace on blacks in practice, but the reds, we just couldn't get them switched on, and like you say, just a couple of 10s drops you down a bunch of spots, and it's unfortunate. Obviously Jack did a great job of getting the fast 6, but no Andretti's made it out of Q1. 3 of the 4 Penske's didn't make it out of Q1. It was a weird day yesterday, and we were just kind of caught up in it.
Well, isn't that kind of the sum of IndyCar this year, though? It's like it's anybody's game, any particular track. Nobody's jumped out and said, hey, we're the team to beat,
1,000%. I mean, I think obviously Joseph and Alex have done a great job through the first 4 races, but neither one of them are starting particularly great today. It'll be interesting to see how everybody executes this afternoon, but you're right. I mean, we've had different winners at every race, and it's just coming down to whoever executes the best on a Sunday, because there are plenty of guys lined up to capitalize on any little mistake or weakness you guys have.
So that being said, we got to talk a little bit about the Indy 500 coming up, and I guess the 10,000-pound gorilla in the room is it's like you obviously didn't have the Indy 500 you wanted last year. It's how you approaching this year a little bit different after what you experienced. That's one of those things no driver ever wants to have to go through. And you found yourself on the outside looking in. How are you approaching this month a little bit different?
Honestly, I'm trying not to, because if you start thinking too much about last year, you can get in your own head. And our team has well and truly moved on from what happened in 2018. We know what happened. We know why it happened. We've prepared ourselves as we would any month of May. You go through into the off season, you work harder, you try and find more places to find an advantage and find a bit of speed, and we did the same thing, as everybody else will have in the field as well. But this is a team that a couple years ago we were on pole, so I don't think we need to change anything too drastic. I think last year was a series of unfortunate events that all sort of came together in a perfect storm, and we're heading into this month as we approach every month, heads down, dedicated, pushing ourselves, pushing our equipment, and we just want to try and start up front and obviously win this race.
Well, and talking about, Indy, it's first oval on, on the calendar this year. I know years past, you've had Phoenix or various other ovals that come before this round. I mean, is that affect you guys? You're going to the biggest race of the year, and it's like you haven't had the car in oval spec aside from testing, before Indy.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it certainly is going to affect, the rookies more than anything. It's going to be harder for Marcus than if we had a race beforehand. But at the same time, he's shown he got pretty comfortable on the oval pretty quickly. So I don't think it'll be too big a deal. Obviously, this one we get 40 hours of practice compared to like 3 hours of practice everywhere else that we go. So I think it'll be enough time for everybody to kind of blow the dust off and get into oval form and oval trim, and hopefully we can put on a good show for the fans.
So that being said, we're here at the GP kicking off the entire month. I mean, this one, I know you talk with some other drivers, and it's like, man, we just kind of want to get through this, get to the Indy 500. But it's at that point, like you said, it's anybody's game this year. Points are still up for grabs. I mean, how do you approach this race, and then moving forward the entire month?
It's one of the biggest challenges we have, honestly, because you can't ignore the GP. It's still a race. There's still 50 points on the line. It's just as important as anywhere else that we go, and it's so easy to get distracted by the 500 coming up and trying to switch focus a little bit too soon. And that's one of the, like I said, it's one of the big challenges for teams and drivers. So, we know where we are, we know what we've got coming up, but we're just trying to stay focused on today. We've got to get through today. We want to head in to practice week with a little bit of momentum from the GP, and hopefully we can pull that off.
So I got to ask, now the fun stuff. I know you guys had a few weeks off between Long Beach and now the GP. I know you like to have fun. You got your podcast going on. I know last year you jumped into the water at the Long Beach Aquarium. I mean, what's Hinch been doing for fun the past couple of weeks?
Well, Becky and I have been renovating the house, so I've been cleaning up stuff and opening boxes and moving furniture and making runs to Home Depot. Yeah, I mean, we're just basically, I've been very domestic the last couple of weeks. So it's been nice not traveling anywhere, but it's been far from relaxed. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, sometimes you're like craving, hey, I need to get back to the racetrack. I don't like this domestic stuff.
Get me back to work.
Yeah, it's like idle hands. You're like, no, I can't do this.
Yeah, exactly right.
All right, well, I appreciate the time, Hinch, man. Always fun catching up, and I guess Hinchtown is now Indianapolis this week, right?
Absolutely. We are based at roughly 16th in Georgetown for the next few weeks, so come stop by and say hello.
All right, thanks, James.
Thanks, man. Always a pleasure.
All right, that was Hinchtown, James Hinchcliffe. Big shout-out to my friends at SPM for helping set that up, and Hinch, always fun having him on the show. Never disappoints, that's for sure. One of my favorite personalities in the paddock, and like I said, if you're into not just motorsport but just podcasts in general, like pop culture, whatever, the podcast that Hinch and Rossi have is ridiculously good. I mean, like really, really good. Definitely worth subscribing to, worth the download. It's not just like IndyCar talk. They do talk about IndyCar, but they talk about pop culture and a bunch of other stuff. Like, it's become one of my favorite podcasts. Worth the subscription over there on iTunes. You're a podcast person, you can binge listen to them and things like that. So definitely check that one out if and when you have the chance. But yeah, so. Yeah, Hinchtown, things. I don't know. He had kind of an up and down run there at the GP. Obviously, things ultimately didn't quite work out the way he wanted them to. But I got to say, going into the Indy 500, you got to think, he's definitely one of. I don't want to call him a dark horse because he's a guy you think about a lot. But I would say, after what he went through last year, this guy is going to have a chip on his shoulder. He doesn't want to be that outside looking in type of guy. Like, my guess is this guy is going to be on a mission, and he's going to be one of the guys to beat at Indy this year. None of this bubble stuff. Like, I think he's going to qualify in early, and he is definitely going to be a threat to take the victory. I don't know if he'll be Fast 9 good, but I think that wouldn't surprise me if he was. But I think Hinch is definitely one to watch as the next couple of weeks play out at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Definitely one of my picks to be a front runner in the month of May, one way or another. Definitely after last year, outside looking in, you'd never want to be in that position again. So we're going to take a short break. When we come back here on the Down and Dirty Radio Show, powered by Polaris Razor, we're going to have the rookie phenom Colton Herta and the legend Sebastien Bourdais right here on the line. extreme performance, reliability, and the most fun you can have on four wheels? The Polaris RZR brings it to you. But you don't need to take my word for it. You can take theirs.
I'm Tanner Faust, and I choose the Polaris RZR because it's the most fun you can have with a steering wheel.
What's up? I'm Ronnie Renner, and I choose Polaris RZR because it's the sickest, most reliable side-by-side on the planet.
What's up, everybody? Heavy D from Diesel Brothers. Listen, I'm on Team RZR because it's hands down the best piece of machinery on the planet.
I'm RJ Anderson, and I choose Polaris RZR because it's the most fun, most capable machine.
Action sports stars, TV personalities, and some of the best race car drivers in the world all choose Polaris RZR because it's the ultimate combination of power, suspension, agility, and fun. Find out more information on the web at PolarisRZR.com or follow at Polaris RZR on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, and use the hashtag RazorLife to share your story. Anywhere is possible. It's more than just a slogan. Anywhere is possible with General Tire's wide variety of tires for whatever it is that you drive. Whether you're looking for off-road capability balanced with impressive on-road performance or ultra-high performance offering all-season traction designed with a driving enthusiast in mind, General Tire has what you need to get where you're going. General Tire, providing anywhere is possible with the Down and Dirty Radio Show since 2012. Hey, this is Jim Beaver, host of the Down and Dirty Radio Show. Getting down and dirty on the racetrack is all fun and games until it's time to get the dirt off. I know it all too well, which is why I partnered with MotoShield Pro, the leaders in nanotechnology solutions on the racetrack and in off-road to combat mud and dirt buildup on my vehicles. MotoShield Pro keeps us from taking unnecessary damage and spending extra energy on cleaning. No matter the weather or the surface, having proper protection on all my vehicles saves me plenty of reprep time in a sport where every second counts. Prep your vehicle like a pro. Learn more at MotoShieldPro.com. Do you race or are you a weekend warrior? Have you checked on the date on your helmet recently? Don't get caught off guard by using an outdated helmet. Impact Racing, the leader in motorsport safety, has new SA 2015 helmets to fit your budget. Whether you're looking for a helmet with a full carbon fiber shell to take you to victory at the Indy 500 or just looking for some helmets for a weekend at Glamis, Impact Racing has a helmet for you. Find out more information at ImpactRaceProducts.com or on Facebook at Impact Safety. When looking for a new wheel for your off-road vehicle, car, truck, or UTV, the choice is easy. You choose what the pros use. Rob McCachran, Keegan Kincaid, and myself, Jim Beaver, all exclusively use Vision Wheel, whether we're dominating Baja, taking the cup at Crandon, or shredding UTVs. Vision Wheel's trend-setting designs and durability will set you apart from the competition and your friends. Check out VisionWheel.com or at Vision Wheel on social media to learn more.
You're listening to the Down and Dirty Radio Show, powered by Polaris RZR. All killer and no filler.
All right, welcome back here to the Down and Dirty Radio Show, powered by Polaris RZR. And like I said, man, we're knocking them out of the park this week right here on the show. So this next segment, I was able to actually catch up with a couple of drivers. One, it's been a long time since I interviewed. One, first time I've ever interviewed him. It's kind of like the legend and the rookie here in this next segment. But Colton Herta, taking the youngest driver to ever take an IndyCar victory. Took that victory at Circuit of the Americas earlier this year. And then you got Sebastien Bourdais, who is an absolute legend in motorsports. So I was able to catch up with both of them fun interviews, and looking forward to the future of Colton Herta. This kid, we've watched him through Indy Lights and stuff like that become just this amazing talented driver, and definitely looking forward to seeing what the future holds for him. So here is Colton Herta this past weekend out at the Indy GP. All right, we've got Colton Herta here, who we're out here at the GP, and got to say, you got to be happy with the way things have been going so far, huh?
Yeah, we weren't too quick in practice one, actually, but we were quickest in practice two, getting ready for qualifying here in a little bit. Not really changing that much, if anything, maybe just some very, very, very fine tuning and changing gears a little bit for the conditions maybe, but that's it.
Well, that being said, I know this is, it's been an interesting year for you guys. New team, fresh start, and I know early on, I think you kind of had everybody kind of watching because you guys went to that first test at Circuit of the Americas, and you were ridiculously quick, and then I think everybody knew coming to that race, you were one to watch, and you went in and won that. How'd that feel to get your first IndyCar win and kind of get that quick, kind of get that monkey off your back?
It was really good, and, is that okay? Okay. Yeah, it was really good to, like you said, get the monkey off the back, and obviously it's not something that was like dwelling on me like I had to do at that moment in time, because it was third race in, so obviously had a lot of time, or second race in, wasn't it? Second race of the year, and yeah, so obviously in a rookie campaign, you don't expect to be doing that well that quick, and by no means was I expecting or the team expecting that of me. But it's kind of like the perfect current of events, and everything just came together, and it was, like I said, a perfect day. Pit stops were great, the speed was there, and even a little bit of luck.
So that being said, we're moving in here. I mean, this is month of May. I know you you've been here before, in Indy Lights and things like that. Obviously, growing up, you were here with your dad and things like that. I mean, looking at things, I know a year ago, this weekend you took the win here in Indy Lights. Now fast forward a year, you're running in an IndyCar. How are you approaching this kind of, I guess, kickoff to the month of May, and qualifying later today and just race weekend in general?
Definitely laid back. We had a really good test here, so I kind of know that we can be quick if we get it right. But it is a very quick event. 2 days, Friday, Saturday, 2 practice sessions today, and we're getting into qualifying, which doesn't feel right. It feels like we should have a night's sleep before we get in for qualifying. But obviously it's a good thing that they do it for Mother's Day. But yeah, just a little laid back. Definitely don't want this weekend to get overlooked for the 500 or let the 500 distract us from this weekend, because we still need points and we still need to do well, and so just taking it one day at a time.
Well, and that being said, I think that this is an interesting year because, talking about the 500, it's actually the first oval on the calendar. Most years you've got Phoenix or you've got some oval, to kind of prep yourself. You as a rookie coming in, I mean, the first one is the big one. How is that for you? You know what I mean? Because obviously you haven't been in one of these Indy cars in oval, an oval race quite yet. I mean, how are you approaching that? Just because it is going to be your first big oval race in the IndyCar series. Yeah,
there's really no way to prep for it except for just get in and do it. You need to gain race experience from driving and gaining experience in the car. Fortunately, we do have a lot of practice time. We get 2 weeks of practice before the 500, which we'll be able to run in behind cars and stuff and get the feel of the car between race trim and quali trim. So I'm not really too worried about it, but definitely, maybe out laps, in laps, that'll be something to look out for that I might not quite have the pace on quite yet.
Well, and something like that, I mean, obviously, you got some veterans around you, but, speaking of that, I mean, obviously you've got your dad, and he's been here, he's raced. I mean, is there things you rely on him where you can go and just pick his brain and ask him questions,
Yeah, him and Alan Jr., who works for the team, 2-time IndyCar winner, 32-time IndyCar winner, 2-time Indy 500 winner. And yeah, he obviously knows a lot. My dad knows a lot. 2 great sources to pick the brain of. Obviously, my dad's working for Marco, who's been here a number of times. I think this is his 11th or 12th Indy 500. So I'll be able to pick his brain a bit as well. But yeah, plenty of resources for me to use.
So, that being said, I know you got some big announcements as far as sponsor, a little bit different look going into this weekend. That's got to have you guys excited.
Yeah, we got Guest Biogas on the car, and obviously really excited to have them on the car for not only this weekend but the rest of the year. And obviously they'll be primary for the rest of the year, and they're really doing great stuff. It's a clean biogas, and it's a bit of an alternative to fossil fuels. So, this is something that's not only good for us as a team but good for the environment, so I'm all for it.
So, all that being said, obviously we're a few races into your rookie season. I mean, I think you had a good idea what to expect this year. I mean, anything that was unexpected as far as, the championship so far?
No, not really. I think once we got through the first round or two, and I kind of understood how the tires work throughout the race and how the tire deg happens, I think that helped me a lot. So yeah, I think once we kind of got through that phase, it actually less surprises started coming up, and I got more comfortable.
Any tracks you're looking forward to, I guess, outside of month of May?
Detroit will be fun. Toronto, probably. Most looking forward to Toronto. That's obviously a great event that they pull a lot of people to, and I love racing on the streets, and I love the city as well.
So, what's it going to take for you to put it on the pole, and then obviously on race day, come away, I guess, would be considered back-to-back wins at the GP, even though one lights, one here. What's it going to take to make this, weekend victorious?
It's going to take a lot of hard work, a lot of focus. I'm up for it, though, and I know the team's up for it. The car's been great all weekend, so if we can just continue this trend, it's going to take a very good lap to get on pole, but I think we have the car to do it, but we'll just have to wait and see.
All right, well, thanks a lot, Colton. Good luck.
Thank you.
Yeah, so right there we had the rookie, which is interesting. Now we're going to roll right into an interview with the legend, Sebastien Bourdais. All right, so we're out here at Indy GP catching up with Sebastien Bourdais. I know, things, you guys just come off the last practice for the race. Things seem to be working pretty good for you guys right now.
Yeah, I mean, it's always a little deceiving. There's push to pass. There's, who put 2 sets of tires. We did, so I think we look a little better than we really are. We've just been struggling a little bit, finding the right balance. But, the race is a whole different animal, so I guess we'll see how things shake out. Just trying to get a good result for that Geico car.
Yeah. Well, and that being said, this race in particular, I know, you've had... You've been able to run up front here in the past. I mean, what makes this, this track, is it tough to pass? Is it easy to pass? I mean, is this one, you've starting a little bit, farther back, you're going to have a fight to the front. How is it to move through traffic here?
It's not an easy place to pass. You think that with the long straights you can make moves and stuff, but you always run a little trimmed here, and it's tough to stay close and get yourself the opportunity. You tend to hurt the tires very quickly as well when you're in traffic because you lose so much downforce. So it's usually not an easy place to pass, but a lot of the times the gaps are so small between the cars. There's really not that many corners, so you really try to do the best you can to make moves, but it's tough to pass a car that's pretty much going the same speed you are. So really, as long as nobody qualifies seriously out of position, it becomes a pretty tricky deal fairly quickly.
Well, that being said, you talked about, this season so far, and, you guys aren't too far out of it in the points. You guys have, gathered some pretty good points. This is the month of May. This is kind of the kickoff. This is the one that everybody likes to get through and then get to Indy 500 qualifying in that. But, a lot of points on the line. How do you approach this race knowing that you've got, the month of May coming up and qualifying next weekend in that?
One at a time. It's this one's important. It's an event, and then obviously next week we're going for qualifying, and hopefully we'll have the speed. I think Honda has made some serious gains, so hopefully we show that last year we were the fastest Honda, and hopefully we can stay that way and make a little progress one step at a time. If we do that, looking forward to a good result, and then the 500 is always the peak of the whole month, and I don't know. I mean, it's going to be. It all depends so much on the weather. You run the whole week, then you don't almost run the next week, and then you go racing. So a lot of things can change. Last year was obviously extremely hot, which made it really tricky for everybody, and made it a bit of a static race. So. We'll just take this one, go through the Grand Prix, and switch focus for the Speedway.
Well, talking about the Speedway, I know 2 years ago you had a great run going, and then we know about the accident. Last year you had an amazing run. I mean, when you approach qualifying, is it day one the most important? Get into that fast 9 so you're locked in, and then you can actually go and fight for position, but you don't have to worry about anything else. Being that we know there's 36 cars this year and everything else.
Wow, I mean, you never know where you're going to be, but I mean, obviously being the fastest Honda last year, you hope that you're going to have enough speed to not really worry about making the field. Then for sure, if you feel like you got a shot at the fast 9, you definitely put the foot down and really try very hard, because first of all, it's a security, and then second, now like you say, you can really start from the tip of the grid. So it's a big plus, especially if it gets really hot. You don't have to deal with so much traffic, and we'll like I said, I mean, we haven't really switched modes yet, but looking forward to it, and hopefully we'll have enough speed to be a contender again.
Well, and you as a driver, IndyCar season starts off a little bit kind of slow. You got a race and then a couple of weeks off a race. Now we're in this stretch where you've got GP, you've got qualifying, you've got the 500, you've got the Detroit Double, you've got Texas. I mean, it's a lot of pressure on a driver and a lot of focus you got to keep. How do you approach this next 5-6 weeks where you're just on the road and in the car all the time?
Oh, for us, it's even worse because it's 8 weekends in a row, starting mid-Ohio last week in the Ford. So. Yeah, there's Le Mans between Texas and Road America, so it's 8 weekends right in a row. So it's a big stretch. It's something we're pretty accustomed to, though. I mean, it's been going on for a while now, so nothing really new, but it takes its toll for sure. You just gotta make sure that you recover enough and then you got your sleep right and everything. But it's also what we love doing, so nothing wrong with that.
Well, looking at your career, obviously, you've gone and raced Formula One. You've got, you went 4 straight championships there in Champ Car. I mean, what would an Indy 500 win? What would that be on Sebastien Bourdais' list of accomplishments?
It doesn't matter who it is. It's the pinnacle of your career. I mean, you win that, you win the 24 overall. It's those mystic, legendary races that just don't mean the same and don't count the same as the others. So I mean, you don't really even want to think too much about it, but if it ever happens, it's going to be one of the greatest days you've ever had.
So before we let you go, one last question. We got the GP start here. You're starting back there, I believe 10th. How do you approach the first lap? Is it go time? Try and pass a couple of guys right off the bat and kind of make your way towards the front?
Well, you have to be aggressive. If you're not aggressive, you're going to get hit. So you have to be on the move, make sure you don't hit anybody. But, it's always a big funnel down turn 1. So, and then it continues going to turn 7 too. So you have to be aggressive and control it.
All right. Well, thanks a lot, Sebastien. Good luck today.
Thank you.
Sebastien Bourdais. This guy, it's one of those where every time I interview him, it's kind of humbling. You look at this guy, and he's run Formula One. You got the 4, Champ Car championships there. I mean, it was a Newman Haas, a big McDonald's-sponsored car. Like, this guy was legend, won so many races, still one of the fastest guys on the grid. And, he took those 2 years and went to Formula One. And, we've had this talk on the show before. Like, I think his accomplishments alone put him up with the greats, but he literally could have been the greatest of all time, I think, if he wouldn't have gone and done that Formula One stint. Not that I disagree one bit. Everybody that's a driver wants to be in Formula One, and he can say he did that. But man, you got to think like this guy is going to go down as one of the greats ever. Could have been the greatest, if he would have stayed here in IndyCar. But water under the bridge at this point. Sebastien Bourdais, always an amazing interview, and we're going to take a short break. We come back, more on the Down and Dirty Radio Show, powered by Polaris RZR. It's more than just a slogan. Anywhere is possible with General Tire. General Tire's Grabber X3 Mud Terrain tire offers aggressive styling and is engineered for durability with innovative performance features that are ready to carry you through extreme mud, dirt, and rock-covered terrain. For extreme traction that's ready for anything and rugged styling to match, look no further than the Grabber X3 from General Tire. Make your anywhere possible by visiting GeneralTire.com today. General Tire, aggressive styling with the Down and Dirty Radio Show since 2012.
Come to the island and rip it up this summer. Wakeboard Island. It's a skate park on water at Blue Water Resort and Casino. Check out the 2-tower cable system that pulls you and your board over the water. No boats to watch out for, no fumes. Wakeboard Island is open to all skill levels with an open center section for beginners. And for trick riders, a double side kicker and a 60-foot flat box. Wakeboard Island, the best ride this side of the Rockies. Adjacent to the River's Edge Cantina at Blue Water Resort and Casino on the Colorado River in Parker, Arizona.
Like what you hear? Catch all the back episodes of the Down and Dirty Radio Show on Apple Podcast, and be sure to rate, review, and subscribe.
All right, welcome back here to the Down and Dirty Radio Show, powered by Polaris RZR. Just wrapping up hour number 1 here on the show. And hour number 2, we're going to have Power Rankings, a couple of segments of Power Rankings. Tiffany Stone dissect all the weekend's motorsport action. Had some Formula Drift happening in the mix, as well as obviously IndyCar and everything else going on. I know Man, we've got some big events coming up. We'll get to that shortly. But make sure, if you haven't already, we're doing 3 shows a week here. Obviously, the national show you're listening to. We've also got the off-road edition, drops on Wednesdays. Same RSS feed as the Down and Dirty Radio show. So for you online listeners or you iTunes subscribers, make sure and hit us up there on iTunes, and you can grab that. And then, we've got Project Action that drops on Thursday. That's Anything Goes podcast. You never know what the hell is going to happen on that show. So make sure and check out all 3 shows, and check us out on the web, downanddirtyshow.com. Chris Leone always pumping out a bunch of content there. Every single day we got all kinds of articles and features and stuff like that from the world of motorsports, dropping videos and just relevant content. So you never know what you're going to find on the website. And give me a follow at JimBeaver15 on social media, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Active on all 3 of them. And, DM me if you got ideas, questions, guest suggestions, whatever. Things you like, things you don't like. Love hearing from you guys. So make sure and, continue, keep pumping it, pumping away and let me know your opinions. Your opinions do dictate what we cover and what we do here on the show. So always like hearing from you guys. We are going to take another short commercial break. We come back, hour number 2, right here on the Down and Dirty Radio Show, powered by Polaris Razor. I'm Polaris rider Jim Beaver. I race trophy trucks professionally, host a Down and Dirty Radio show, and also travel the country announcing motorsports events. I've seen it all, and trust me, I've done most of it, so when it comes time to relax on the weekend, nothing is better than taking time with my family in our Razor vehicles. They've got the reliability I need to just pick up and go explore the desert, dunes, or trail, and have the capability to attack even the harshest terrain. If you're looking for some of the most reliable and safest, and hands down most capable off-road machines in the world, look no further than Polaris and their award-winning lineup of Razor vehicles. Whether you want your daughter to experience off-road driving for the first time in a Razor 170 like me, take the entire family out in a Razor XP4 1000 on the weekend, or shred the desert and dunes in the all-new Razor XP 1000 Fox Edition, Polaris has you handled. Take my advice and join me and some of the best drivers in the world by driving a Polaris Razor. Check out the full Polaris Razor lineup at Polaris.com, or follow them on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Polaris Razor. Whether you're looking for a tire that balances high performance responsiveness and traction in wet and light snow conditions, excellent handling and traction in wet and dry conditions, or a summer performance tire designed with the driving enthusiast in mind, General Tire has you covered. From the all-new G-Max RS to the Grabber ATX, no matter what you drive, General Tire will get you where you're going. Learn more at GeneralTire.com. General Tire, cruising with the Down and Dirty Radio Show since 2012.
Life is all about sound, the sound of sports, the sound at the racetrack, and the sound of your vehicle. Don't drive around listening to this. Drive around listening to the sound of performance. Gibson Performance. Gibson Performance Exhaust is the company who can turn this into this. Remember that life is all about sound, and Gibson Exhaust is the sound of performance. Check out your next catback exhaust system, headers, muffler, or UTV exhaust at GibsonPerformance.com and get more power and more sound.
Thanks for tuning in to the Down and Dirty Radio Show, available live online, in syndication on networks across the U.S., and available internationally on the American Forces Network.
Welcome back here to the Down and Dirty Radio Show, powered by Polaris Razor, kicking off hour number 2. And we got a lot of fun in store in hour number 2. That is definitely for sure. We got Power Rankings, Chris Leone. Got Tiffany Stone on the line. We got a lot to talk about T-Stone, too. I think it's going to be a fun interview today. That's for sure. But thank you guys for tuning into the show. It's kind of that weird transition period. We got all the summer motorsports. All the winter motorsports, it's like Supercross wrapping up. We're in that weird time before motocross outdoors starts up. We've got IndyCar, month of May starting. Short course really just getting started. This weekend we go down to Baja for Lucas Oil. So a lot of interesting just storylines and stuff like that happening in motorsports right now. I do want to mention though, our good friends at iRacing just dropped a teaser that I voiced this past week. They are bringing Lucas Oil Short Course to iRacing. That is right. Lucas Oil Short Course is coming to iRacing start of June. They got Wild West Motorsports Park as I guess the first track that they're going to unleash. I know they've got plenty more in the plans. Stoked to be kind of a part of that. I think it's iRacing, man, it's taking the world by storm. Obviously we all know about esports, but iRacing kind of the leader, in motorsport esports and racing esports, and people making a living at this. And Red Bull invested, guys like Mitchell DeYoung. We've interviewed him on the show as a professional race car driver. Now he's moved to the esports space. Definitely need to catch back up with Mitchell. But I think it's massive for the sport of off-road now to have a home on iRacing, and very stoked to be a part of that. So check out the teaser, iRacing's website. iRacing's Facebook, they've got it posted there, I think on their YouTube channel as well. We'll throw it up on our website this week and on our social as well. But just something to, if you are a motorsports fan, if you're a video game fan, if you're an off-road fan, Lucas Oil Short Course coming to iRacing, it's definitely a massive, massive deal. So looking forward to that, definitely. That's one of the big breaking things that actually dropped, I believe, this morning. So check it out. Sure, you guys haven't seen it yet, but you can go iRacing and with Lucas Oil Short Course. It's definitely not. Definitely a time killer if there ever was one. So, yeah, we're going to take a short break. We come back. We got Power Rankings with Chris Leone right here on the Down and Dirty Radio Show, powered by Polaris RZR. Want extreme performance, reliability, and the most fun you can have on four wheels? The Polaris RZR brings it to you. But you don't need to take my word for it. You can take theirs.
I'm Tanner Faust, and I choose the Polaris RZR because it's the most fun you can have with a steering wheel.
What's up? I'm Ronnie Renner, and I choose Polaris RZR because it's the sickest, most reliable side-by-side on the planet.
What's up, everybody? Heavy D from Diesel Brothers. Listen, I'm on Team RZR because it's hands down the best piece of machinery on the planet.
I'm RJ Anderson, and I choose Polaris RZR because it's the most fun, most capable machine.
Action sports stars, TV personalities, and some of the best race car drivers in the world all choose Polaris RZR because it's the ultimate combination of power, suspension, agility, and fun. Find out more information on the web at PolarisRZR.com or follow at Polaris RZR on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, and use the hashtag RazorLife to share your story. For 100 years, General Tire has provided tires for your lifestyle, your adventure, your anywhere. Born from competition, the Grabber tire offers the durability and off-road traction you demand in a tire. We put these tires to the test in the harshest off-road racing conditions to give you a tire that will make your anywhere possible. So let us take you on your next big adventure. Tweet us photos at General Tire, hashtag anywhere is possible. Because with General Tire, anywhere is possible.
4WP is more than a store. We're truck and Jeep experts and have been for over 50 years. From wheel and tire upgrades to full custom builds, 4WP has you covered. Whether you want to order the best parts online or shop in store, do the work yourself or get it done by a pro, all roads lead to 4WP. Do your rig right. Shop online or find your store at 4WP.com.
Looking to have some fun on four wheels? Dirtfish Rally School has you covered. Packing as much adrenaline and adventure as you can handle into high-performance all-wheel drive and rear-wheel drive Subaru rally cars is where the fun begins at Dirtfish. Just 30 minutes outside of Seattle and Snoqualmie, you'll get a chance to train up to 3 full days with some of the country's best instructors and be put through the high-octane rush of rally on mud, dirt, and tarmac. Get started today and call 425-888-7715 or visit us online at dirtfish.com and use code 911 for a 15% discount.
Come to the island and rip it up this summer. Wakeboard Island. It's a skate park on water at Blue Water Resort and Casino. Check out the 2-tower cable system that pulls you and your board over the water. No boats to watch out for, no fumes. Wakeboard Island is open to all skill levels with an open center section for beginners and for trick riders, a double side kicker in a 60-foot flat box. Wakeboard Island, the best ride this side of the Rockies, adjacent to the River's Edge Cantina at Blue Water Resort and Casino on the Colorado River in Parker, Arizona.
Thanks for tuning in to the Down and Dirty Radio Show, available live online, in syndication on networks across the U.S., and available internationally on the American Forces Network.
Welcome back to the Down and Dirty Radio Show, powered by Polaris RZR. Jim Beaver, along with Chris Leone, who was out at the Indianapolis GP with me this past weekend. Welcome to the show, Chris. I know you and I both had some crazy travel. I don't know. I didn't even tell you my full thing. I ended up spending the night in Indy. And then I ended up in Detroit, and then I ended up back in Phoenix at 10 a.m. on Sunday. So, yeah, it was an eventful – yours was eventful, and you and I were texting, and about the time I woke up on Sunday to get on my flight, you were still, like, driving home. Like, I don't know how our travel got so screwed up, dude.
Yeah, Jim, it was nuts. I mean, I didn't get to bed until 5:30 in the morning. And I just had to power through for the most part. By the time we finally took off at 2 in the morning, I mean, we just had all sorts of screwy things going on. I know there were weather issues down in Charlotte. That's where I connected. And then, trying to head back up to Boston, I mean, we got delayed because there was just such a backup. We got our gate moved 2 terminals over. We finally get on the plane. They back out the plane, and then they say, oh, the maintenance certificate's expired, so somebody's got to come over and do that. And then they couldn't get anybody for 45 minutes. So we just got teased to hell with backing out, and thinking we were ready to go and then having to pull back in. It was not a great experience. I'll probably be shifting my airline loyalty, but I'm not going to say any names at this point. But geez, what a mess that was. You can't control the weather, but there are some things that you can control. And I would think one of them is offering things like water to people, and we didn't even get that. So, man, what a disaster trying to get out of Indy for both of us. But that doesn't take away from an amazing few days that we had there. Obviously, a lot of interviews on this week's and next week's show with some of the sport's top drivers. So, we've got plenty to be excited about. We just had to go through hell and back to get home.
Yeah. Well, the funny part about mine was it ended up not even being weather. So the real story was we had a plane. It was sitting there all along. We actually had a pilot and a co-pilot who were in wherever the lounge is that the pilots and co-pilots hang out. We had everything. They didn't have flight attendants. They couldn't get flight attendants for like 5 hours. And they ended up finally canceling the flight because they couldn't get flight attendants. So it was weird. But in their defense, literally this morning I got hit with a full refund for my flights. So like I can't my bank account, literally the money hit. So I'm like, how bad can you complain? They actually gave me my money back. Didn't even argue nothing, So I don't know. It was a bad weekend, but I'm like, I'll give them another shot. They treated me right, at least after the fact. Sounds like you didn't, but they didn't treat you right. But anyways, I don't know. We could talk airline horror stories all day long, but the thing about this weekend is there was some good racing across the board. I mean, IndyCar, phenomenal race. We'll get into that. But power rankings, it was weird this week, Chris. I mean, there wasn't actually, NASCAR, Formula One, Formula Drift, IndyCar, but it wasn't a massive weekend. We didn't have NHRA. We didn't have, any off-road series running, anything like that. But there were still some really, really solid performances.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the only other thing other than what you named was, WRC was down in Chile. So we had some pretty intense racing, action motorsports going on on 3 different continents. So, it's kind of interesting because, you think of NASCAR, IndyCar, and F1 as kind of the big 3 for a lot of, certainly pavement motorsport fans here in America, and they were all in action. But, we cover so much, we follow so much that for us it's a light weekend. For everybody else it might be a huge weekend, but for us, we were able to just sort of focus on 4 or 5 series instead of 9 or 10, once we get past Indianapolis, that weekend after is just, it is motorsport Christmas. Everybody is in action that weekend. So compared to that, this was easy to keep track of. I was able to watch everything, no problem.
Yeah. Well, that being said, let's roll into things, Chris. Who did you have at number 5 on your list?
Well, Jim, I'm a fan of the underdog. Who isn't a fan of the underdog in motorsports? And I got to show some love to Jack Harvey over at Meyer Shank Racing. Michael Shank had been working to get into IndyCar for years, finally teamed up with Schmidt Peterson, who are some friends of ours and have always had a great race program, and they put Jack Harvey in the seat. Jack ran a few races last year. He's got more than half the season scheduled this year, and Jack just had a breakout weekend. Made the Fast Six for the first time, had a great start to jump right into second putting pressure on Scott Dixon for the lead. I mean, I'm kind of surprised that, look, it's Scott Dixon. Scott Dixon's always going to be a very hard driver to pass, but, I'm surprised with how strong they were that I don't think Jack really led any laps, but regardless, still got that first podium finish. That's an incredibly strong performance. And more impressive, the fact that he had never driven an IndyCar in the wet before. So to be able to go get a podium and do that in the rain, I mean, they've been talking on the broadcast about how Jack said, I'm a pretty capable rain driver, and he absolutely proved it, because if you go out and you get a podium in the rain in a car that you've never driven in the rain before, you're doing something right.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you there. And I've kind of, in a roundabout way, got Jack Harvey on my list, but we'll get to that in a minute. But no arguments. Phenomenal performance by him. I think one of the big things that I love about IndyCar is it's so competitive that a team like Meyer-Shank that's part-time can come in, and obviously they've got a good partner team there with SPM IndyCar. But, I think it says something where teams can come in and they can do the work and they can be competitive, How many times have we seen a team in Formula One come in and, you just know you're just going to be a back marker for the rest of whatever, and, Formula One's the weird anomaly, but even NASCAR, it's hard if you're one of those teams that's a part-time to come in and crack the top 10. And I think that's one thing that makes IndyCar so special is you've got a team like, Shank that can, and, they've obviously got a capable driver there, but, it's one of the things I really, really love about IndyCar. But coming in at number 5 on my list, yes, I'm going to the NASCAR world. We had Brad Keselowski, who took the big win there at Kansas, kind of a surprise victory, kind of out of nowhere, but took his 3rd victory on the season, which now moves him into the top 5 in points. Now, granted, I didn't get a chance to really watch that because I was stuck in the airport as this race was going on, but I did read quite a bit on the performance. I don't know if you were able to catch up on the end of the NASCAR race or anything like that, but I don't know. It was a heck of a performance by Keselowski. Kind of a surprise victory, 3rd on the season. He's got a lot of momentum right now, moving him back into this points race, and had to have Brad Keselowski at number 5 on my list, Chris.
Well, Jim, I'm going to stay in the NASCAR world for number 4, but I'm actually picking the guy that he beat, Alex Bowman. I mean, we've talked about in the past how power rankings are primarily the past 7 days, but if you've got momentum, then it's going to factor in. And Alex Bowman has been the bridesmaid 3 weeks in a row. I mean, he is just pounding on the door of a victory for Hendrick Motorsports. It's great, I'm sure, for a lot of the longtime NASCAR fans to see the 88 back running towards the front. Obviously when Dale Jr. retired, that was a big blow to the sport in terms of, on-track personalities. But much as he hates the nickname, Bowman the Showman is pretty fitting for him because he's a real talented young driver. That first win is just around the corner, I think. And, it's a bummer that it didn't happen for him this weekend in Kansas. Obviously, Keselowski got the best of him late in the race. But, Alex Bowman is one of NASCAR's best bright young stars, and I think he's got some really big things ahead of him. I think that he is absolutely going to be a playoff driver this year. I'm not sure how far he's going to make it, but I think he and that team's, he and his team have some serious potential. The Chevrolets seem to be turning it around a bit and catching up to the Fords and Toyotas. So, that I've got Bowman at number 4 because I see a lot of good things to come. And, the past few weekends, he has been maybe the best driver on the circuit. He just doesn't have that win to show for it yet.
Yeah, and it tends to happen once in a while. Sometimes the hottest driver isn't necessarily getting the wins, but, 3 second places in a row, that's sure going to keep you in the points race for sure. But before we get to my number 4, it is time for us to take a short commercial break, and when we return, we'll have the rest of Power Rankings right here on the Down and Dirty Radio Show, powered by Polaris RZR.
Life is all about sound, the sound of sports, the sound at the racetrack, and the sound of your vehicle. Don't drive around listening to this. Drive around listening to the sound of performance. Gibson Performance. Gibson Performance Exhaust is the company who can turn this into this. Remember that life is all about sound, and Gibson Exhaust is the sound of performance. Check out your next catback exhaust system, headers, muffler, or UTV exhaust at GibsonPerformance.com and get more power and more sound.
check out mymedic.com for the best first aid kits on the planet and save 15% with discount code Jim Beaver. Again, mymedic.com, discount code Jim Beaver, and save 15%. It's cheaper than a funeral.
Like what you hear? Catch all the back episodes of the Down and Dirty Radio Show on Apple Podcast, and be sure to rate, review, and subscribe.
Welcome back to the Down and Dirty Radio Show, powered by Polaris Razor. Jim Beaver, Chris Leone here, dissecting the weekend in motorsports. We both got through our number 5 picks. We moved into number 4. Chris has his number 4 pick in his power rankings, Alex Bowman, second place winner at Kansas this weekend in NASCAR. I am moving from my number 4 pick, and I'm thinking Chris may have him just a little bit higher up on his list than I possibly do. It was just there were so many good performances this weekend. I've got Frederick Osbo, your Formula Drift winner, coming in at number 4. Now, Osbo, I would say you look at the past half decade in Formula D, especially the past 3 to 4 years. He's been one of the most dominant, if not the most dominant driver in FD, and obviously that doesn't factor into our power rankings. But I don't know what's going on at Papadakis. They're always one of the premier teams. But he's just, I don't know. He just hasn't been able to crack that win in a while now. And it's weird because he went on a binge there where it was like Osbo every single weekend. But Osbo back in the winner's circle in Formula D at Atlanta, which I will note, he had won at every single track on the Formula Drift calendar up until this weekend. He had never taken a victory at Atlanta, took the victory at Atlanta, moves him into second points. He's smack dab right in that points chase now. And he did beat in the final round Ryan Turk, who's another good friend of mine. And, that's where I was torn, Chris. Like, you've got Turk and you've got, Osbo in the final round. Like, Turk hasn't won in quite a while either. It's like, man, you're torn. You got 2 of your friends in there doing battle, and it's just it's interesting when that plays out. And if Turk would have won, he would have been in the same exact spot on my list as Frederick Osbo. But got to give a big shout out to Frederick Osbo for the big FD win.
Yeah, absolutely, Jim. And I do have Frederick on my list, and we'll get to him on my end a little bit later. But one of the reasons why it's so easy for me to do power rankings on Formula One, besides the fact that the winners seem to be more and more obvious this year, every single weekend we go out, is the fact that we don't have friends to worry about in F1. And so putting Lewis Hamilton in at number 3 is a pretty easy task for me. Lewis and Valtteri Bottas over at McLaren, I mean, Hamilton and Bottas have been 1 and 2 every single race this year for Mercedes. When I say McLaren, I meant Mercedes. I'm still tapped into 10 years ago sometimes with racing. But, but Hamilton, say what?
yeah, McLaren, they haven't been relevant in a while. A McLaren fan here, but just saying, I mean, we'll call a spade here.
I'm sorry. I'm excited about Fernando Alonso coming back to Indy with McLaren. I've got that on my mind a little bit, but, those cars aren't silver anymore. So little slip up there, but yeah, Hamilton at Mercedes, 3rd win of the season out in Spain. He's got the points lead. It's really going to be a battle between those 2 drivers. But one of the more interesting things that I've seen is I think we're getting back to the period of Mercedes dominance. Last year, they had 4 1-2 finishes between their drivers, and granted, part of that was because Bottas had a pretty rough year. But now, to start the season, they are 5 for 5 on 1-2 podium sweeps. And, I mean, whether you like it, whether you hate it, whether it's got any entertainment value at all, that's impressive in any form of motorsport. And so I've got to give Hamilton my number 3 spot. He's even admitted that it kind of gets a little boring when you don't have another team that's right up there competing with you. Hopefully, whether it's Ferrari or Red Bull, somebody gets it figured out and starts really taking the fight back to the Mercedes team. But, for the meantime, every time that they take a victory, they've basically got to be a constant on my power ranking list, unless it's just that much of a dud of a race.
Yeah, well, and, honestly, you're going to make my number 3 very, very easy because I had Lewis Hamilton at number 3 on my list as well. So for once, we are actually on the same page on something, Chris. But yeah, Lewis Hamilton, everything you said, I'm looking at my notes and literally word for word, you took the words right out of my mouth. You went a little bit farther into things than I would have. But yeah, 3rd win of the year, points lead, Spain. Spain victory this weekend. I think the big thing for me is all roads lead to Monaco. We're 2 weeks out from the Monaco Grand Prix. And this is an event, obviously Lewis Hamilton has won it before. It's, basically the Indy 500 of Formula One. It's their biggest event of the year. And I love this one because the race kind of plays, I don't know, the qualifying is actually more important than the race in Monaco. And for Formula One fans, they'll understand that. But I really love Monaco, but the track is so old, and it's there's just not a lot of passing room like there was years and years and decades ago when the cars were smaller and things like that. Like, I'm really excited about Monaco, mainly because I think Lewis Hamilton has a chance to lose. And I think if Red Bull or Ferrari or some one of the other teams could put together a really, really solid qualifying run and get up front somehow, some way, I think we may actually see this dominance that we've seen this year. I think I think there might be a chink in the armor. So I'm very, very excited about Monaco, especially about qualifying to see how things play out. Now, if Lewis Hamilton gets a pole in Monaco, it's game over for everybody. But I'm a Hamilton fan. I'm just saying, like, you want to see some competitiveness, just like you said. Hamilton has said, hey, I like, having a competitive field. It's kind of boring to run away with things. So I don't know. I think Monaco is going to be a very, very interesting one this year, Chris.
Oh, no doubt, Jim. And speaking of competitive fields, I told you we were coming back to Frederick Osbo, and he's my number 2. The FD field, now that Odi Bakchis got knocked off of the top spot in Atlanta, it seems like the season's really going to start to break wide open. You had Turk and you had James Dean, and I believe Michael Essa was the 4th driver in the final 4. Correct me if I'm wrong, but we started to get a little bit of turnover in the top few spots from Atlanta. Now that we're into the season, with some of FD's more prominent venues, I think that the top of the standings might get shaken up a little bit. Odie's got a pretty big lead right now, but Osbo is definitely within striking distance. And, it's still early enough in the season that one bad run for anybody can really turn things over. But, credit to Frederick Osbo. He is the winningest driver in FD history, and he's just extended that mark in Atlanta. It's going to be really exciting to see him, Odie, James Dean try to defend the title, on and on and on. They're so evenly matched, and especially with FD being a judge sport, it is so hard to break out. So it'll be exciting to see how that season plays out. But yeah, I had Osbo. It was my number 2.
Yeah. No arguments there. I think Osbo, I think we're both going to have the same number 1, and rightfully so. I think everything below that was kind of a toss-up at this point. But my number 2, I'm gonna do something interesting, just because we talked about Formula One. We've talked about a lot of different things today and throughout the year, in motorsport. But I'm going to put it number 2. Mainly because of the amazing race we saw. IndyCar is number 2, and the reason why is like, you'd mentioned Jack Harvey and what he did for Shank, and we haven't even talked about the 4th place finish that Matthias Lees took for AJ Foyt, which is massive for AJ Foyt. To take that 4th place finish right off the podium. I mean, they said, they're like, this is a victory for our team, but the thing is when you've got guys like Harvey and Least who, he qualified, I think, back in 21st and charged up to 4th. He was in for a podium spot. I got to put IndyCar as a whole because, a lot of people go, oh, well, they're not as fast as Formula One. Like, Formula One's faster at COTA. Well, IndyCars aren't slow. They're ridiculously fast, but the competitiveness of IndyCar, where it's anybody's game, anybody can win on any given weekend. And if you're an 18th place car and you put together a good event, you have a shot at a top 5 and potentially a podium. Like, to me, that's what makes IndyCar so special. I think that's why the ratings are going up. Sponsors are getting involved. If you can side by side, I don't care if you're European and you watch this show and, you want Formula One to be the premier motorsport. It is a premier motorsport, but you could watch the race at the Indy GP and the race at Barcelona side by side on your TVs, and I tell you what, your eyes are going to be focused on the IndyCar race because the Formula One race is just going to be so dang boring. So I had IndyCar as a whole at number 2 on my list because they had an amazing event this weekend at the GP. All right, Chris, moving into number 1, We've got, looks like about 2.5 minutes left, and I think we're both probably on the same page with this one. Who'd you have at number 1?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure we are, Jim. And, it's funny that you mentioned earlier that we were on the same page for number 3, and that never happened. But it happens a lot with us for number 1, and it's because usually the driver who stands out the most over the weekend is just blatantly obvious. And we have to go into the Team Penske camp. I think we have to give it to Simon Pagenaud for that remarkable drive that he had, to win the IndyCar Grand Prix for the 3rd time. He and Will Power are still the only drivers in 6 years who have ever won that race, and they've divided them evenly, 3-3. And the most impressive thing to me about the way that Pagenaud drove that race is the fact that he made all of those passes at the end with absolutely no push to pass.
Exactly.
It was, that's incredible.
That's what...
And the fact that he's just tracking down Scott Dixon like that, that's unreal.
Yeah,
And
you don't outdrive Scott Dixon. That's just one thing. You don't outdrive Scott Dixon. That's a given. Nobody can outdrive Scott Dixon. But yet, we saw Pagenaud outdrive Scott Dixon. I was like, what are we watching here? Dixon does not get past.
Hey, here's the one thing to remember. Pagenaud was a sports car driver for quite a while, and he ran Le Mans prototypes with Peugeot. And, driving those cars, you get pretty darn good in the ring, and my understanding is that Peugeot put their drivers through a lot of rain training, and so a guy like that is always going to excel in the wet. But, watching Pagenaud drive like that, I was a little young to be able to watch a guy like Ayrton Senna, drive in the rain, but you've heard stories, you see clips. You may not have seen it as it was happening, in real time, but, you hear the stories about it. You see things like that. Pagenaud's drive in the wet this weekend is one of those rain drives that I'm going to remember for the rest of my life.
Yeah, no arguments by me on that for sure, buddy. But we're going to take a short commercial break, and when we return here to the Down and Dirty Radio Show, powered by Polaris RZR, Tiffany Stone's on the line.
4WP is more than a store. We're truck and Jeep experts and have been for over 50 years. From wheel and tire upgrades to full custom builds, 4WP has you covered. Whether you want to order the best parts online or shop in store, do the work yourself, or get it done by a pro, all roads lead to 4WP. Do your rig right. Shop online or find your store at 4WP.com.
Looking to have some fun on four wheels? Dirtfish Rally School has you covered, packing as much adrenaline and adventure as you can handle into high-performance all-wheel drive and rear-wheel drive Subaru rally cars is where the fun begins at Dirtfish. Just 30 minutes outside of Seattle and Snoqualmie, you'll get a chance to train up to 3 full days with some of the country's best instructors and be put through the high-octane rush of rally on mud, dirt, and tarmac. Get started today and call 425-888-7715 or visit us online at dirtfish.com and use code 911 for a 15% discount.
Like what you hear? Catch all the back episodes of the Down and Dirty Radio Show on Apple Podcast, and be sure to rate, review, and subscribe.
Welcome back to the Down and Dirty Radio Show, powered by Polaris RZR. Jim Beaver, along with Tiffany Stone here. I don't know, got another one of our segments. I don't know. I was Mr. Excitement this weekend. T-Stone, you were just kind of parked on the couch at home, right?
Pretty much. I went up to the lake, got some stuff ready for the summer. It's just getting everything cleaned up. And honestly, I kind of just chilled and did nothing. I have 3 weekends off. So, just as much as anybody else, when you have those weekends off, you kind of hold them near and dear to your heart. And you're like, I kind of want to do something, but I honestly don't want to move. Yeah. And so that's kind of what I did this past weekend.
Well, it feels like if you're like me, you're at home and it's a weekend, you have absolutely nothing to, don't get me wrong, we always have something to do, but if you're not at a race or an event or something like that, it's like something I don't know, it's like I'm it's off in my world. It's like whoa, what's going on here? It's so weird. When you're home on a weekend, it's like, okay, now what did I used to do? I can't remember. So what were my hobbies?
Exactly. And so that was the case. And of course, yesterday was Mother's Day and stuff. So I went to dim sum with my mom, and I finally posted about her today. And I don't know if that's a good sign or a bad sign. It's I was enjoying time hanging out with my mom, that I didn't even post about her. But then you get everybody who's on, social media, and they're like, you're so insensitive. You didn't post about your mother. I'm like, I was with her the most of the day. Like, I think she knows I love her and I care about her, and she doesn't even have Instagram or social media. So how's she going to see this?
Well, you know, and it's funny too, because like me, you know, we travel and like you're like me, like we have some of the most amazing people we call friends, people other people would say are celebrities and this and that, you know, and like I'm with these people a lot, and you know what, like my social media doesn't reflect that, because like here's these people that I'm friends with, and they're like influencers. You know, I guess I ought to be like, hey, let's take a selfie together, snap, you know, so I can throw it up on the gram. Like, I guess I would probably get more followers that way. But to me, it's like, oh, these people are my friends. I don't want to make it awkward. And to be honest with you, I didn't even think about that. So I get it. Like with your mom, you're just like, oh, I'm having a good time and I'm enjoying the moment. Let's not ruin it with social media.
Exactly. And so it's just, you know, it's a catch-22, because everybody's always like, well, how come you don't? It's just like, so am I posting it for you? Or, because like I said, my mom doesn't have social media. How's she going to see any of this?
Yeah, that's funny. I love your pictures of your mom though, because like she's just like, I can tell like she's, I don't know, like me looking in, I'm like, I bet she's a firecracker. She's probably like very like calm and collected, but I bet she's got some spice to her, right?
She is. I mean, I am half Asian. My mom is from Thailand. Do not. We are all ninjas deep down inside. We will just karate chop you. I'm just kidding. Not at all. No, my mom, she's awesome. Like, the older that I get, you know, when you're like 18, early 20s, you're like, oh, I don't want to be like my parents. But then like when you grow up and you become our age, you're kind of like, oh, okay, well, I do understand why I do this. And now I get why I'm so frustrated with, you know, little things my mom does, because I do the same exact thing.
Right. It is funny the way things like, and I've had people say that about me and my dad, you know, as they get older and everything, they're like, man, you're just like your dad. I'm like now, you know, at one point you would have been like, hell no. You know what I mean? Like, what are you talking about? I'm not like my dad. Now, like certain things when they say that, I'm like, I take that as a compliment. You know what I mean? Like you know, so it's like things like that. It comes full circle, you know?
Exactly. So that's why I'm like, all right, you want to tell me I'm like my mom? I will take that as a compliment, because my mom is a badass. So, and it's always so funny because, you know, if you've met me, I'm pretty tall for a female. I'm like 5'8". My dad is 6'1", 6'2", but my mom is literally 5 foot, maybe 4'11". I'm not too sure, but she is a tiny person. And also, if you've seen my Jeep in person, you also know it's lifted, and it's on baby 35. So I can't imagine how difficult it's going to be for her, either when I move up to the 37s or the 39s, or even push it to 40s. She's going to have like the hardest time to get in there. And like some guy was like, I think she needs a step stool. And I was like, I think she does.
You're going to have to buy like an old beater, like Ford Focus or something like that. And like, just like one that's got like 300,000 miles on it, and just keep it parked. But when you have to take your mom somewhere, you roll out in the Focus or something, you know?
Well, I have my 300. So my 300's lowered. I don't know, Jim, like my spectrum on car vehicles, because like I grew up in Michigan. Okay. So I grew up in Metro Detroit, but where I like kind of went to high school, we had dirt roads when I was growing up. Okay. So that kind of tells you I'm kind of country in that aspect. And, you know, miles, farms everywhere. I grew up on 5 acres. You know, we had a barn, all this other stuff. And then I have another part of me that lives so close to Metro Detroit that I have like this little hood side to me. So it's like I have like a lifted Jeep and then a lowered Chrysler 300 on 20s that's all blacked out.
Yeah, you're completely, I don't know, what do they call that with multiple personalities? Like, oh, which T-Stone are we going to get today?
Schizophrenia.
Yeah,
I'm schizophrenia. Vehicle schizophrenia.
Yeah, exactly. So no, it was funny. Not funny. It sucked at the time, but went to the Indy GP, spent a couple days in Indianapolis, and then I was supposed to fly out Saturday evening, get to the airport like right on time, and they go, oh, your plane's delayed by 15 minutes. I'm like, big deal, 15 minutes, right? 5 hours later, we're sitting at the airport, and or I'm sitting at the airport. Probably got a little bit of a buzz by then, because what do you do in the airport when you're there for 5 hours? You go and drink. And the pilot's there, the co-pilot's there, And the plane is there, and it's been sitting there for like 5 hours. And they cancel the flight, and all of us are going, we're looking at the plane, we're looking at the pilot, what's going on? Well, come to find out, they had a flight attendant shortage. So, there was no stewardesses, so they had to cancel our flight because of that. And then they go, oh, yeah, by the way, since we've waited 6 hours to cancel this flight, we can't get you out Sunday. We're going to have to get you guys out on Monday. And I'm like, so now Mother's Day, everything's just shot. We get to spend in the airport. I'm like, no. So I go and that was American. So I go to Delta's website, start looking, and they had a flight like 6 a.m. to Detroit. And then I had a layover for quite a while in Detroit and everything else. I'm like, man, if this just would have worked out right, I just would have taken a flight to Detroit on Saturday, would have went and bought T-Stone dinner, and we could have hung out, and then Sunday flown to Phoenix or something. I was like, totally screwed up, but wasn't planning on the travel shenanigans either. So. But part of me was like, all I have to do is make it to Detroit, and then I know I got a friend there at least, you know?
Well, and that's the good thing about, like you're saying, about traveling all over. You have friends in all the most random places. Like, if I wanted to go to Green Bay, I could probably hang out with the Greens there. You know, if I wanted to go to the Northern UP, I could hang out with the Klymans there and stuff. And it's just, like, the cool thing that you learn from hanging out or working or traveling and stuff. And I don't know, it's kind of fun, but I've been on flights before where they haven't had a flight attendant. And I'm like, okay. I've literally been on a flight before, though, Jim, delayed for 3 hours because the overhead bin would not shut.
Yeah, I've seen that
they
stuff
literally
before.
had to call somebody to come do that, and then they just finally taped it. I'm like, why don't we just tape this to begin with?
Yeah. Well, it was crazy. It was like all the flight attendants. So I guess they were flying from like Boston to Charlotte to Indy, and then they were going to fly from Indy to Phoenix. And the thing is the flight attendants weren't actually active on those other flights. They were just trying to get them to Indy. And I guess the flights I was just like, it was complete, like, I don't know. It was their logistics. Whoever did the logistics on that one should have been fired. It was not good. But
you are fired.
Yeah. So, yeah, that was my weekend. But Indy GP was solid. I know. Yeah, it's funny because we're in that stretch now. So I saw them at Indy, but I know even talking with the drivers, they're in this crazy stretch where I know they go to your neck of the woods, Detroit GP, here in a couple of weeks, right after Indy 500 for that double. And it's funny because everybody's like, the drivers all look forward to that. They don't look forward to this stretch they're on where it's like race after race after race. But it's funny because like multiple drivers like were excited to go to Detroit, and we're talking Indy 500, and they're already kind of talking about the Detroit GP. I thought that was kind of interesting.
It is. It's kind of something different, especially because they do the duel in Detroit. So that's something that's a little bit different. And what's kind of unique about it is you get to see 2 race weekends in one, and it's on a road course, but we're technically on an island. The road is not like the pavement, obviously, is not the best of the best, so it's a little bit different. You have to have a lot of like body strength to keep those vehicles, like, because Jim, I wish you would have just called me, because then I could have taken you to Belle Isle and you could have seen everything. But it's kind of cool. It's different. And then there's so much hype for the Indy 500. But I also think that once they get to the Detroit Grand Prix, that they know Indy 500's over, the duel's over. There's nothing more that you can do. And then you just continue about your season.
Yeah, well, and it's what's weird. Like everything with IndyCar, like comes to a complete pause in the month of May. Like, and they have the GP at Indy, which I was at, and the drivers are kind of almost not even thinking about that. They're thinking about the next 2 weeks of qualifying weekend and Indy 500. Like literally, it's like the biggest Super Bowl of the year, and it smack dab. Like NASCAR has theirs to start the year. You know, like most series have it like at one end or the other. You know, it's like IndyCar. It's like, no, we're going to throw the big one right smack in the middle. You know, off road Baja 1000, it's the end of the year. Crandon, it's the end of the year. Like IndyCar's the weird one where the biggest race of the year is right in the middle, you know? So it's like you're thinking about points, but they're also thinking about this big epic win. And I think that's one thing that's kind of wild about IndyCar is just the way that kind of all lays out and plays out, you know?
No, and yeah, I guess I never really kind of thought about it in that aspect, but you're right. NASCAR starts off with the Clash and the 500 right in the beginning of the season. You know, even towards the end of NASCAR, they have the Chase. And so I guess that is kind of cool since you have such a big sanctioning body and such a huge following that they're like, you know what, we're going to see who the best of the best is midway. But then I guess that kind of helps you out too, because you can kind of work and see what you need to change and see where you fall for points. But then going to like NHRA, like since you're just in Indy, their Super Bowl of drag racing is during Labor Day weekend. So that's still in towards the end of the end of the season, because they end in November. But so you have September, and that's kind of where they start stacking everything, and then they wipe away the points, and then they start the points again. So it's kind of cool to see it in that aspect as well.
Yeah, definitely. So I know you got a couple of weeks off, and then what's next for you on the agenda?
I go at the end of the month to ARA, so we're going to Portland for the Oregon Trail Rally, which I'm kind of cool and excited about, since it's a 3-day race. We start in Oregon, go to Washington, finish off in Oregon, so that's kind of cool. And then going to Crandon for, the spring run, and then back to ARA at the end of the month. So that's kind of what June entails for me.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm pretty busy too. I know I got to go to Charlotte for ARCA race and Coke 600, and then I've got this Crandon. I've got Lucas in Missouri. I don't know. Pretty packed few weeks too. I think there's one other event I forgot about throwing in there too. Plus the wedding I got to go to. So, geez, we're I don't know. Should be a fun stretch for us, T-Stone.
I know. I'm excited, and I was just about to say, you get to get dressed up. You're going to be in a suit.
Yeah, it was weird. I've actually got a few suits now. Last year there was 3 weeks in a row where I was in a suit for events and hosting formal gigs for motorsports and stuff like that. And so now I've actually got this whole suit collection. But I'm one of those weird guys, I wear them so rarely. I actually look forward to putting on a suit once in a while. It's I get to play dress up, if that makes any sense. Not that guys like to play dress up, but sometimes fun to get out of the jeans and the hoodie and actually dress nice.
Oh my goodness, yes, I do, Jim. I think I have an idea for fall Crandon. I wish we could go to a banquet or something like that, or maybe we could just dress up really nice and do our live show. I'll dress up just so we could get dressed up. Or maybe Crandon should hold a fall prom or something.
Oh God.
Or homecoming. What if Crandon did a homecoming dance?
Oh my gosh. I think that would be... You'd have to do a redneck homecoming or something. Be like you and I, the better thing would be is you get in your full-on ball gown, I get in a tuxedo, and then we go literally to the middle of Jurassic Park to the naked slip and slide and do a live show from there. And we're formal, and then everybody else is naked going down the slipping slide. I think it'd be hilarious.
We could just commentate from there and do our own live stream show. Yeah. All right, welcome to the live XXX-rated version of the Down and Dirty Show. Things are about to get down and a little bit dirty. Yeah. Jim, look at...
Yeah, I honestly, I would love to I wonder how that works with social media and live streams and stuff like that. Because the problem with the naked slip inside is, let's face it, the people... And I don't want to be judgmental here, but generally the guys and the girls that are going down the naked slip and slide aren't the ones that you would actually really want to see naked. I think that's the easiest way to put it.
And truth be told, it's probably a lot more naked dudes than
that's true. There's dudes are volunteering yeah, I'll pull it out and go down. There's one girl to 10 guys.
Exactly. That's how it always is, I've never been to Havasu, but I'm assuming Havasu is kind of like that. It's just all these dudes and there's just one chick or whatever. And then because we have something like that out here, it's called Muscamute. And what they do is on the first Friday after after summer, so summer starts June 21st, the following Friday, it started out with 2-3 dudes who worked at Ford, took their huge big boats from out on St. Clair shores or St. Clair Lake. And they all started out at this island called Muscamute and then just kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And that's literally what it is. They have stripper poles, but it's not necessarily the girls that you would think would be strippers.
Yeah.
It's just no, please don't. Please, no,
dudes are weird
please.
like that. Dudes are yeah, you want to see my junk? I'll show you my junk. Girls are a little bit more even the wild ones, a little bit more conservative. Hey, you got to earn it a little bit. At least buy me a few drinks. Guys are just immediately here's my junk. It's guys are so just yep. And it even the guys that shouldn't be proud of what they're packing, they're proud of it. Hey, check me out.
Yeah, you're okay.
Yeah, but you see those memes. Funny. You see those memes, and you there's a meme going around of like of guys and women when they look in the mirror, and here like the meme is like a guy that's like 300 pounds looks in the mirror and he sees like a guy that's 180 pounds with a six-pack. Women look in the mirror and here they are as like skinny as can be, and they see this huge like woman in the mirror. You know what I mean? It's like, it's just funny the way that minds work, because guys are so that way. Like you can see the guy that, and they're just like, they own it, like, hey, check it out. Women are so not that way.
And so some of them are. I know. Yeah. It's just, it all depends. But maybe we could do that. Maybe we could do the live Down and Dirty show from Jurassic Park, or at least film it and edit some stuff and blur some things out so people who have never been there can actually get what it is. And it is a 50th anniversary this year, so I'm assuming things are going to get a little wild.
Yeah, and I always thought that would be the fun thing too. And this is like you and I going way off the rails here, but like like TV and stuff, like Red Bull Signature Series or MAV TV or whoever's doing TV, like there's certain things like you want to showcase the race, but they don't necessarily showcase the event. You might get a little overarching view of it, but I feel like somebody like needs to go in and literally like there's more to Crandon. It's just like the Indy 500. They've got the Snake Pit and things like that. Like there's more to these events. Like I want to go and see that. I want to see like the people side of thing. Everybody knows about the race and stuff like that, but like with Crandon, man, I want to really like meet the people and what they're doing back in the woods, and like I think that would be like epic YouTube stuff, even if you're blurring it out or whatever, like tell the real Crandon story, the stuff you don't get on TV.
That's what we could do, Jim. Jim Beaver and Tiffany Stone getting that real story for you.
Yeah, like really like undercover reporting at Crandon. So
here we are. Nobody knows us, but we are going to have this go out with a microphone and hopefully nobody notice it.
Yeah, I guarantee you we'll have all kinds of film crews volunteering to go with us too. So like nobody turns down a trip to Jurassic Park.
No, oh my God. Jim, we've just gotten way off subject, but I know everybody's thinking about this and they're like, yes, this is a good idea.
Yeah, we're going to get Kinsey to produce for us because she knows like half the people in Jurassic Park. So Kinsey Flannery, if you're listening, you're our producer.
and our videographer and photographer. Just don't tell Cliff of anything that we've done. Yeah. Or if I take the vehicles back out on the Ultra 4 track again.
Well, that's a given. What do you mean if? We're doing that.
I know. Fall Crandon. Should I give away fan rides on the Ultra 4 track?
Oh, gosh. You could do that. Like, man, if you're going to Crandon, like post up your craziest picture, I'll pick one and take you for a ride in my Jeep or something. You'd have people go like crazy over that.
I know, that is. We should figure out something. We'll figure out something. Either way, hopefully your dad can come back and I can say that I drove the mayor of Parker around in my Jeep.
Yeah. No, it's done deal. He's coming back. So he is there. So, yeah. So, all right, T-Stone. Well, always fun catching up with you. And, I guess we'll be back next week. Hopefully, I don't know, hopefully we got something fun we both do this week. We got something to talk about next week.
Will do. Stay tuned.
And we'll be back after this on the Down and Dirty Radio Show, powered by Polaris RZR. Looking to have some fun on four wheels? Dirtfish Rally School has you covered. Packing as much adrenaline and adventure as you can handle into high-performance all-wheel drive and rear-wheel drive Subaru rally cars is where the fun begins at Dirtfish. Just 30 minutes outside of Seattle in Snoqualmie, you'll get a chance to train up to 3 full days with some of the country's best instructors and be put through the high-octane rush of rally on mud, dirt, and tarmac. Get started today and call 425-888-7715 or visit us online at dirtfish.com and use code 911 for a 15% discount.
Life is all about sound, the sound of sports, the sound at the racetrack, and the sound of your vehicle. Don't drive around listening to this. Drive around listening to the sound of performance. Gibson Performance. Gibson Performance Exhaust is the company who can turn this into this. Remember that life is all about sound, and Gibson Exhaust is the sound of performance. Check out your next catback exhaust system, headers, muffler, or UTV exhaust at GibsonPerformance.com and get more power and more sound.
Thanks for tuning in to the Down and Dirty Radio Show, available live online, in syndication on networks across the U.S., and available internationally on the American Forces Network.
All right, man. Well, welcome back here to the Down and Dirty Radio Show, powered by Polaris Razor. Went a little bit long in that segment with Tiffany Stone, but I don't know, always fun hatching these adventure plans. But anyways, yeah, thanks to Chris Leone, Sebastien Bourdais, Colton Herta, James Hinchcliffe, all the IndyCar teams. Liz there at Harding Steinbrenner, everybody there at Sullivan Motorsports, Dale Coyne, Sebastien Bourdais, obviously Schmidt, Peterson Motorsports, just everybody that helped put the next 2 episodes of the show together. Thank you so much. My IndyCar family always goes to bat for me, and the show. And, and we get a lot of you wonder, how come I cover so much IndyCar, or how come we've started covering so much? It's because they've kind of invested in the show, man, just with their time and efforts and things like that. So always just fun catching up with them. Good luck to everybody qualifying. I know, man, it's been wild so far. Just practices there at Indianapolis Motor Speedway already, times are crazy. I think we're going to crack 2:30 by the time qualifying actually rolls around this weekend. So going to be interesting to watch and see what happens. Please make sure follow us on social media. It's at JimBeaver15 on all forms of social media. Then we've also got the show account on Instagram at Down and Dirty Show. Check out Project Action this Thursday, the Full of Parts Down and Dirty Show Off-Road Edition on Wednesday. Obviously, rate, review, subscribe on iTunes to all of the shows. And if you're looking for a discount at Dirtfish, it's JB Dirtfish. If you're looking for a MyMedic.com discount, it is Jim Beaver. And big thanks to Polaris Razor, General Tire, 4-Wheel Parts, MyMedic, Vision Wheel, Gibson Exhaust, Dirtfish, Impact, MotoShield Pro, Blue Water Resort and Casino, and everybody that helps make this show happen. All right, hope you guys have a great week, and we'll see you next time right here on the Down and Dirty Radio Show, powered by Polaris Razor.